Hey, there's back with another video. So on this one, I want to talk about the Southampton game. Obviously, it ended 1-1. We started the game off really well, but the first half was really good from us. We should have taken more of our chances as well. We just weren't efficient in that game. And the thing is, when you're not efficient, you just keep teams in the game, and then you give them an opportunity. They build up momentum, they gain more confidence, and then they can go and do what they did against us. And I feel like when we're lacking in efficiency. And one thing also that happened was that once they switched to that back five, it became a lot more difficult for us. I think the Bordeaux, the manager in the Europa League, he spoke about that, about the way we try to stretch teams and then exploit the spaces in between the areas. But what Southampton did really well was that because they played with a back five, we weren't able to stretch them because they were already in position already. And obviously, if we're not at our best, we can't really perform well enough to stretch them and exploit the spaces, which we didn't. And the times when we did exploit them, we just weren't efficient with our chances. So I want to go over some of the things I did spot from the game. Before the game even started, I saw a piece about how we're number one for dribbling this season in terms of teams that's completed the most successful dribbles this season, which is great for us because, as I've said, we seem to be signing a lot of displays or bringing in a lot of players that can actually carry the ball and beat a man, which is because that's the way we want to play. Obviously, when you're playing against teams, which is how we want to play against teams, that we want to push them back, make them defend deep, and then try to exploit them. And the best way to be able to do that is you need to be able to dribble, you need to be able to carry the ball and exploit and create space that can be exploited by your teammates. And for that to happen, you need 1v1 players who can actually carry the ball and beat a man. Obviously, that didn't help us much in this game because we weren't at our physical best. But that piece was really good, and it did show our advantages, and it's proof as to how we want to play. One player that is exploiting all of this around him is Granit Xhaka. Again, he scored today, but you can see whilst everyone else is carrying the ball, dribbling, beating their man, creating space, what Xhaka has done really well this season is that he's exploiting the space that's being created, attacking the space in between line, running in behind, attacking the half space, even at times overlapping on the wide areas to make cutback crosses as well. He's having a great season because he's utilizing the strength of the system right now, which is that we have a lot of players that can carry the ball, create space, dribble, and then he's utilizing the space, which is why he's playing really well. Another player that did well for the assist again, Ben White, who overlapped. As I've said already, I feel like he needs to overlap a lot more. We need to see a lot more overlaps because Saka ends up in these situations where he's in 2v1s or 3v1s, and we need more of Ben White overlapping. Every time he overlaps, he's really efficient with his crosses. So we do need that because there's a lot of space there because teams like to triple up or double up on Saka. Therefore, there's space out there. As I said, the players that can dribble, there's always space for the players around them. So the likes of Zinchenko that can, when he was playing before, who can dribble, hold the ball in the final third, the likes of Martinelli who can also dribble 1v1, that's creating space for Xhaka to use. So on the right hand side where you've got Saka who's attracting two or three players to him because he can dribble the ball, you expect the likes of Ben White to continuously overlap and do what he did for the Xhaka goal. You also expect that from Odegaard as well. I want to see more of him overlapping Saka as well because there's more space in the wide areas that would then free up the space in the middle for Saka to then enter. So when Saka is having these two or three players around him, there's space everywhere. There's space inside, the space outside. You want to see Ben White or Odegaard using those spaces either inside or outside of him. That way we can exploit teams a lot more. Another thing I do want to mention as always, Martinelli. I mentioned on Twitter not too long ago. I said that in the last two games he's had two shots. He's had one shot per game. In the last four away games he's had four shots. One shots per game. So I do feel like, and someone replied to me about is it due to the fullbacks and stuff. I do feel like the lack of Zinchenko is might be one of the issues here because the fact that when Zinchenko was here, he was holding onto the ball in the final third. What Xhaka is doing in the final third is he's attacking the space, but he's not holding onto the ball in those half space there. When he has the ball, he's passing it. What Zinchenko was doing was keeping the ball, retaining the ball, playing all these little 1-2s, and overlapping Martinelli a lot more and allowing him to go inside. And he was switching with Gabriel Jesus in the inside. But we're not seeing that recently. His shot counts has started to reduce. When at the start of the season he was getting, in some games he had 7 shots, in another game he had 4 shots, in another game he had 5 shots, 3 shots. So, but that's all reduced. We need to see him try to attack the box a lot more because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, we need to be a bit more efficient, as I said earlier on. Otherwise, if we're not efficient, we can't exploit these teams, and we're going to keep them in the game. And the longer they're in the game, they have a chance to always equalize. Leeds could have scored against us, and they could have won, or they could have equalized as well. But eventually, in this game, it backfired on us. And in further games, that could be a concern there. But we need to see Martinelli exploit the space a lot more, just so he becomes more of a threat. We are seeing Saka getting behind a lot more recently, and he scored recently as well. and Gabriel Jesus also doing the same thing. But we need to see Martinelli do this a lot more. We need to see him attacking the box a lot more, exploiting saves, just so we have another extra threat that will go along with Jesus, with Saka, and with Granit Xhaka as well. We need to see more of this from Martinelli, which we were seeing at the start of the season that we're not seeing right now. The other thing was Gabriel Jesus. I did say, I do remember when Wenger said this about Aubameyang a while back, when he mentioned that the reason why Aubameyang is so good is because he saves all his energy for the final bit, for the movement of the ball, the runs off the ball, the runs in behind, attacking space. And the reason why he's doing all this, and the reason why he's always in position to score goals, is because when all your energy is just based towards that part of the game, you're not having to do anything else. You're saving energy. When you do arrive in there in the 1v1 situations, you're fresh, you're sharp, and you can take your chances. And also, not only that, you can take your chances, but you can continuously make these runs over 90 minutes, over a 90 minutes period, and you can continue to be sharp over a 90 minutes period, because you're always saving your energy for this time. And the only time you become alive is when the team are around the box, and then you can dart into the box and get your goals. But with Gabriel Jesus, what I'm seeing from him recently is that he's dropping deep a lot more, which is good. Which for the all-round game of the team, he's dropping deep, dribbling, helping us in the build-up play, his work rate, defending, everything that he does, bringing others into play, going out wide and things like that. But when he eventually does arrive in the box, it feels like he's lost his composure. Maybe due to the fact that he's not as sharp because of all the stuff he's doing around the box. Maybe he's doing too much work outside the box. So when he does arrive in his 1v1 situations, the composure is not there. Or it could just be his finishing. Maybe his finishing is just not that great. But we have seen him finish when he ends up in his 1v1 situations, when he's not a part of the build-up. But a lot of the times he's a part of the build-up play, a part of winning the ball. Even the chance that he got from Odegaard, he was a part of that build-up play. Eventually, he's basically stretching to try and get that goal, rather than him just arriving and finishing. Like other strikers, you take Haaland, for example, who a lot of the times he's just focused on making those runs in behind. So he's fresh, he's alert. All his energy is saved towards that. Obviously, I wouldn't want Gabriel Jesus to not offer what he's doing outside the box, but I do feel like that is playing a part in terms of reducing his finishing and his conversion rate. And then the last thing I want to say is the lack of depth that we're having. Basically, the performances we had against Leeds and Southampton, for me, I felt like that's been coming, and it's been coming for a long time, or not coming for a long time, but it's been coming since since a few games ago. Once we've seen our physical situation starting to decline a little bit, and I did think to myself that in the second half of the season that could be an issue in terms of fatigue, because if you don't have enough depth, or you don't have enough quality of the bench that you can rely on and you can trust, and you're having to play these players consistently like this, you're not going to be able to last for a whole season. I did a video last week about how we can maintain consistency. You're not going to be able to maintain consistency the whole season without being able to trust other players to come in, and we're not able to do that. And in the second half of the season, I feel like this is going to become more of an issue, whereby teams are just really strong defensively and really stubborn, and we can't really break them down. And because we can't do that, then we don't have enough options off the bench to even change that, because we're not always going to get the best of Saka, Martinelli and Jesus. But on the bench, we only have one player that can come in for them, which is Nketiah. We don't have any other player that we trust to come in. That's why I've mentioned over and over again, we need to add depth to the squad, especially in January. We need to bring in a player, at least another player in the attacking area that can come in for these lot. Because, for example, Martinelli didn't have the best game, neither did Saka, but we couldn't change it. All we could do was change one of them, because we only have one player that can come on, and we're having to bring on a left back to change the game offensively, because we don't have any more attackers that can change the game. So that's something that we need to address, because in the second half of the season, our physically we are going to decline, because that's just natural. That's what happens. Players are going to start fatiguing, and players are going to be out of form. Stuff like this is going to happen. We need to have depth to be able to change the game, so we can exploit these games. Otherwise, we're going to end up having a lot of this kind of games, and because we're good defensively, we're just going to end up having these games where we end up getting draws, and we might see a situation where we end up having too many draws, which could then affect us. I do feel like we're strong contenders for the top four. In terms of the title, I don't know too much unless we address the depth situation. But I feel like top four, we're still one of the best teams that can get that. But anyways, thank you guys. See you in the next video.